Everyone, and good afternoon. My name is Johnny Reinsch, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Qwil. Very excited today to be talking about our recent partnership between Qwil and SAP Fieldglass. And I'm joined by my colleague and Qwil board member, Ron Suber, as well as Bob Baker, Global Vice President, SAP Procurement Solutions Area App Extension Ecosystem. As a quick overview, we'll be discussing a couple of things today, including the newly announced partnership between Qwil and SAP Fieldglass, and also a discussion about the changing dynamics in the supplier environment as a whole. For the folks just being introduced to Qwil, we come to this partnership as a new financial partner to SAP Fieldglass in order to provide suppliers the option of when and how they want to get paid, including taking early payments as soon as net one. It's all very exciting. And before we dive in, Ron, I was hoping you might be able to give us a little bit of an overview of what's going on in the capital markets as you see it. You've had a prolific career in fintech and in the capital markets generally. What are you seeing that is impacting how and when folks are getting paid and their ability to draw from credit and the like?
Thank you, Johnny. It's great to join you and Bob today. As everyone knows, as we see on TV and the media, there's a lot of focus on everybody's health and everybody's safety and access to capital. How do people get paid? How do they access their paychecks? How do independent contractors and freelancers get paid on the fees that they're owed? And how do suppliers get liquidity too? And what excites me about this partnership is that suppliers now get paid on their own terms. And one of the things that I'm observing is that we're in this downturn, we're in this challenging period together. This is the best time for companies like SAP and Qwil to come together, to partner, and to create new solutions and position for growth. I see so many companies, incumbents, large, small, medium, hibernating, unable to move and innovate. It's so great to see this partnership and the solutions to all those who get it.
Great.
So let me start off.
Yeah, that's a great insight, Ron. And I think we'll probably see many more exciting partnerships along those lines. And as you mentioned, it is a tough time right now. And I think companies as large as SAP and as small as Qwil alike are trying to find interesting ways to serve our various customers.
Agreed. Bob, let's kick it off with you and tell us a little bit about your insights of how buyers and suppliers are faring in this environment and what we can do together to make it easier and better.
Well, first of all, Ron and Johnny, thanks for having me here. I really appreciate the opportunity, and we're really excited within the SAP procurement brand team, and that's the brands are SAP Ariba and SAP Fieldglass. We're excited to have Qwil join the application partner ecosystem. This is something we've been looking forward to for a long time. I know you have as well, and we're excited about the value that it brings to our joint customer community. There's a link that's available at www.sapappcenter.com. Customers, partners, analysts, the press, etc., can all go to that website, look up the solutions underneath SAP Fieldglass, and connect with Qwil directly to learn more about the Qwil extension and the Qwil intellectual property and how it can help SAP Fieldglass customers. So I can't say much more about how delighted we are to have you guys in the ecosystem. Now, coming back to your question, Ron, we are seeing a significant amount of supply chain disruption on nearly every possible vector, as you can imagine. Buyers are struggling with sources of supply as workers get sick and factories and means of production shut down. Suppliers are experiencing challenges in moving goods and services in ways that they never even imagined were possible. And entire supply chain networks that have been built over decades are having to reroute and reconstitute nearly overnight. This disruption isn't just about goods and services, it's about workers, it's about talent, it's about human capital as well. And this is where SAP's partners like Qwil are rising to the occasion to fill gaps and support business continuity for our joint customers. Now more than ever, suppliers are in urgent need of consistent cash flow to sustain their businesses. They need maximum flexibility on their payment terms. And Qwil can enact a dynamic discounting practice for suppliers of contingent labor with SAP Fieldglass, thereby improving the liquidity for both the consumer of talent and the supplier of that talent. And at a time when immediate seamless payments really can make all the difference between staying open and closing up shop forever, we're delighted to see Qwil step up in a big way to ensure that gig workers get paid on time and on their terms.
Totally agree, and well said. Immediate and seamless is what I continue to hear from businesses and suppliers. So what are the buyers and suppliers doing to adjust these days?
Yeah, you could almost ask that question in the negative. What are they not doing to adjust? I mean, for buyers, they are identifying, engaging with new sources of supply. This is in the news every night. This is on your internet feeds every day and every minute. You hear about how suppliers are adjusting to meet new demand and are rewriting their logistics to move their products to those buyers that are asking for help. And all of the players in the supply chain are aggressively managing cash, and they're aggressively managing their working capital. In that environment, Ron, where supply chain and procurement vendors are, that's where we live. We have a particularly important role to help our customers. As just one example, SAP has opened something called SAP Ariba Discovery, which allows buyers and suppliers to find each other and for buyers to identify new sources of supply seamlessly. We're actually offering that free to our customers, and in fact, even customers that aren't our customers, we're offering that for free until June 30th as we work our way through this pandemic. It's important for Qwil, it's important for SAP. The space that we're in, we've got to help our customers first and foremost.
That's great. Certainly managing cash and working capital is front and center after safety and finding the new normal. So what do you foresee for the future of supply chains as we reopen as a country, as we open as a world, for the furloughed employees, the businesses, and really the economy? What do you see there, Bob?
Yeah, well, in the immediate future, we see, I think like most of us, we see customers investing in technology to support remote work, and we see them aggressively moving to assess and reassess their supply chain vulnerabilities. Those supply chains, as I mentioned earlier, they were not built overnight, but they were torn down overnight. And as a result, we're seeing our customers invest in risk assessment, data management and insights technology, and other systems that allow for supplier collaboration and buyer collaboration to have some resiliency in that ecosystem. It's obvious, it's very clear, we are in an unprecedented time, certainly within our lifetimes. But if you look back to previous economic contractions, they can reveal important insights and patterns of behavior that may play themselves out again as we begin to recover from the economic crisis that the pandemic has induced. As we began to come out of the last major global economic downturn in around 2008, one of the very first green shoots that you could see coming out of that you knew the economy was coming back, was an investment by employers in contingent workforces. This is temporary workforces, temporary employees. Companies began rehiring slowly, and when they did, they reduced their risk. They hired contractors, not full-time equivalents or FTEs. And as the economic upswing strengthened, more FTEs were hired. We think we're going to see something really, really similar. As the displaced FTEs of today, those furloughed workers, those laid-off workers that are in the labor force and in the supply pool, they become the contingent labor of tomorrow when the economy restarts. And that's why we're excited about the partnership with Qwil. SAP Fieldglass and Qwil together are uniquely positioned to help customers manage in that paradigm.
Yeah, Bob, that's a great point. And the look back on other downturns is interesting, because one of the recurring themes that we get, and where I place a lot of my faith, and one of the bases for even starting Qwil, was I fundamentally believe in human ingenuity and innovation. And it's not technology alone that does it. So the use of contingent workforce and all these various strategies to kickstart that growth engine back up in the last downturn and the ones before it, I think is incredibly powerful. And I want to move on to talking about the partnership between Qwil and SAP. We've shared some good details already about the benefits to suppliers, and just to quickly summarize, folks, for listening, the Qwil early payment solution delivers the choice for suppliers to decide how and when they get paid. Basically, we've built a bunch of technology that helps assess and manage risk on behalf of various solutions and intermediate between the folks that need cash and the folks on the other side of the equation that are able to provide that cash. And basically, this changes the relationship between buyer and supplier so that they can be afforded flexibility by the presence of our financial option to support that transaction. And the theme at Qwil from day one has always been, we want to make sure that folks that are using our solution, that are using our technology, have the option and to get paid when and how they want. And they also have the transparency around when they're likely to be paid. And so before the partnership was solidified with Qwil, what were suppliers doing to get paid, and what types of options did they have? Were there any financing options within SAP?
Yeah, Johnny, there were a number of payment solutions available within the SAP procurement ecosystem, and that includes both Ariba and Fieldglass. Some of those were built by SAP, and some were provided by partners. I think SAP works with, you can imagine SAP, a company the size and scope of SAP. We work with every level of the financial ecosystem, whether that's banks or other financial institutions, to bring value to the buyer supplier commercial interaction. We've always done that. We can mention Ariba Pay, SAP Apparent Financing, and our motions with existing institutions like American Express, Goldman Sachs, et cetera. So we've been in this space for quite some time. But I think when it actually comes to moving money, physically moving or digitally moving cash between our customers and their suppliers, we've been slow to invest in that space for reasons that I think Qwil knows really, really well, in terms of regulation and in terms of risk. And it sounds like Qwil has been able to take care of a lot of that. We're excited as a result, because Qwil takes that away from SAP, they take that away from the customers, and they take that on, and they're able to deliver a great service with it.
Thank you. That's great. And we have done a ton of work to make sure that these transactions happen seamlessly and with the requisite level of transparency and the like. And I've got to be honest, Bob, I'm, as a co-founder and CEO, I'm absolutely humbled to be working with SAP Fieldglass. You guys are top of the industry with the SAP Fieldglass BMS. And I'm curious, just for our listeners, what was the impetus for SAP to move forward with the partnership with Qwil?
Yeah, it's a great question. And honestly, Johnny, while SAP has a number of investments in payment applications and with financial institutions, as I mentioned, we always felt it was best to work with partners in moving cash between buyers and suppliers. This allows SAP to focus on what we do best. We build transactional business process software, and then we have an ecosystem of providers that can thrive in the highly regulated world of banking and payments. We are not a financial institution, we're a software company at our heart. And in the case of Qwil, SAP Fieldglass does not have explicit payment capability. We do not today, nor do we want to be a payment provider. We want to facilitate the payment for sure. We want to manage the transaction. We want a high level and a high degree of compliance with all rules, regulations, and laws, et cetera. But we do not want to move money, and we don't want to be in the middle of that. And that's why we're excited about our partnership with Qwil. Qwil delivers that to the market, and that doesn't just move money. Obviously, it allows both sides of the transaction, whether that's a consumer of contingent labor or the contingent labor providers, to move money on their terms. And so it's a real value add in our ecosystem.
Wonderful, and I can say definitively on behalf of myself and the entire Qwil team that our excitement is matched, if not more so, to work with SAP. And as you probably know, my co-founders and I founded Qwil to focus on helping people get paid, and part of this came out from a situation that I went through where I nearly defaulted on my mortgage when I was freelancing, when a client didn't pay me on time. I didn't have a lot of transparency into when I would receive my payment, and I had very few options for actually getting any type of financing from the traditional banking industry. How do you feel this partnership can help the suppliers in getting that needed capital in order to run their businesses and survive, or hopefully thrive?
Yeah, thrive is the operating word, not just survive. You don't want to just live to fight another day in business. You want to grow your business, and we believe at Fieldglass and in SAP that Qwil is going to be able to help our buying customers attract more niche and diverse contingent workforce suppliers that maybe were like you at one time, Johnny. They the real winners in the workforce are often people that are freelancers, and they're going to be able, our customers of Fieldglass are not going to be able to attract suppliers like you because you're going to be excited about your options in terms of being able to get paid and keep your business not just surviving but thriving. We think this will increase adoption of contingent workers. It'll enable global payments with ease, and we're excited about that. I think our ability to work together, Fieldglass and Qwil, it will be exciting not just for suppliers, but of talent and freelancers like your former life there, but also with our buyers of Fieldglass. It's a two-sided business model that provides value to both.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point about the value on both sides, because honestly, in my experience, the buyers tend to have very good intentions around paying out their suppliers, whether it's a staffing supplier, staffing contingent labor, or sellers of goods. And oftentimes there are lots of processes and whatnot that either get in the way of making payments land quickly, or for providing any amount of transparency around the payments. So yeah, that value prop seems very clear. And I'm just curious, just recognizing that it's fairly early days in our partnership, how's the response been so far?
Yeah, it is early, but we've seen some really exciting uptick. The engagement with the Fieldglass MSP community in particular, and for those of your listeners that are not familiar with MSPs, these are typically they're large partners of Fieldglass that actually manage contingent labor on behalf of entities or on behalf of companies, and so they're big users of Fieldglass, and they're a big part of our value chain and the ecosystem for Fieldglass. That community is really excited about this partnership. It gives them a lot of flexibility. Our clients are excited about it. We've gotten excellent early feedback. We're just beginning to see client engagement. It's still early on, but we think the sales and growth pipeline is showing progress, especially given how new the partnership is. We think this year will be a big one for us both.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly a dream come true working with you guys on this, because if I had stayed on the freelance path, I very likely would have been working for one of the staffing suppliers in your ecosystem, and hoping for my staffing supplier to have good options for making payroll and paying their own overhead. As Ron mentioned, we're in this really sort of critical time with COVID-19 and its general impact on the market. What impact do you think the solution, the combined SAP Fieldglass and Qwil solution, will have on the suppliers and being able to get paid as soon as their invoice has been approved?
Well, there just are a number of benefits that Qwil is going to provide to the users of Fieldglass and then to the suppliers themselves. There's the ability to expedite global deployments in smaller foreign markets where invoices in one currency, for example, U.S. dollars, to a client can be converted to a local currency as the suppliers choose. That's a big deal. So that enables a global workforce, a global talent workforce, where regardless of where the buyer of the talent is located or the consumer of the talent is located, the supplier of that talent can work in their local currency. So Qwil handles that, which is a huge thing. Additionally, there's a cost avoidance and a back office kind of work relief as Fieldglass clients or our MSPs will only need to make one payment to Qwil. Qwil will then disperse those monies wherever they need to go. Qwil's going to manage the payment to all of the workforces. For example, if you're a large buyer and you have a lot of contingent workers, you're going to have to pay them all. If you can pay Qwil in one direct, easy payment, Qwil will manage the rest. So that's a huge benefit to our buyers as well. And then we believe that we talked about this, there's an increased adoption of the program by offering early payment to suppliers in the larger pool. So if you're a supplier, if you're a freelancer, and Johnny, you were one, you know this well, you can get your money faster. If you're going to want to find consumers of talent that utilize Qwil, you're going to gravitate to them. You're going to want them. You're going to try to convince your temporary employers to utilize Qwil, because through Qwil, you can manage your cash, and you can manage the cash in the way that helps your business thrive. And so we just think that it's a win-win for buyers and suppliers on that value chain.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to sort of when I approached the banking system with the cash crunch that I was in back in 2014, one of the reasons why I had trouble getting any sort of financing at that point was that the financial system surrounding the type of financing I was looking for was somewhat clunky. And I'm curious about your opinion of what Qwil is digesting data over SAP Fieldglass and using the data from the work performed by the staffing supplier, their workforce, at the buyer's approval, all within nicely packaged up in the SAP Fieldglass BMS. We're using that information, that data, to ultimately make our financing offer. How do you think this changes the game as far as viewing purchase orders and invoices more as potential instruments of commerce, or even something akin to like financial instruments?
Yeah, it's been said many times before we've arrived on this podcast, but it can't be overstated in the current environment that cash is king, and cash really is, and cash management is probably going to frankly make or break not only individual companies or individual employees, but entire industries are going to kind of either survive and thrive, or they're going to fall on the lack of cash. High debt industries are really going to have a hard time as their cash reserves dry up, and we're going to see that more and more. So Qwil's ability to take an invoice, a purchase order, and then not turn those into not just a transaction, but a way to help both sides win and manage their cash, it'll have a huge impact, and we think it'll be a game changer for businesses in that regard. We sincerely hope that we would love a year from now or more to have stories in the ecosystem of suppliers and customers of Fieldglass and customers of Qwil come back to us with stories where they literally were able to conserve cash and get cash faster because of the relationship with Qwil. That'd be a great story, and it's one that we look forward to telling in the market.
Yeah, no, same, and one that specifically tugs at my own heartstrings, as you know. And I would love to look, when we do that retro, we look back on the program and we're continuing to expand it. Personally, I would love to see this program attract more suppliers into the SAP ecosystem. Do you see a potential route there as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and we talked about this a little bit in a previous question, but um, because the suppliers are attracted to buyers, buyers on a network are the consumers of the service or the goods or whatever is being transacted upon that network, and so buyers pull in suppliers. Suppliers want to supply the buyer, obviously, and buyers that are subscribed to Qwil as a service, that service may make a big difference as to what suppliers will choose and who they will choose to work with. In your case, Johnny, it's a great story, but there are many other freelancers and, in fact, small entities out there, agencies, et cetera, that provide temporary labor for projects or what have you. And those things are, while they're great, they're going to want to work with those buyers that give them the kind of flexibility that they need to help their businesses grow and thrive. And so if they see that a buyer is using Qwil as that service for payment, they're probably going to want to gravitate towards that service. And that could be a big differentiator in terms of the level of quality of supplier that these buyers that are utilizing Qwil are able to bring to the table.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And that theme of the suppliers ultimately wanting to interact with the buyers that do provide these types of options is straight down the fairway with what we've seen at Qwil, with being able to attract and retain sort of the best batch of suppliers in the business. And sort of keeping on this theme of speculating a little bit about the future, I'm curious on what your thoughts are on how you see the partnership with Qwil and SAP evolving and what the next chapter could look like.
Yeah, I think the sky's the limit for us, honestly, Johnny. I think SAP today has a number of business networks within its umbrella. The most famous of that is, of course, the SAP Ariba network, where Ariba is the market leading procurement software for goods and services. And our at SAP in SAP procurement, our goal is really to manage all spend for our customers and manage it well. And in order to do that, you've got to have a great network. And we have one in the SAP Ariba network. There are many other networks. I think we recently did a study at SAP. There are 30 different networks. And so, or there are 30 different networks within the SAP umbrella. And so as you think about all of those networks and being able to unite them under one procurement umbrella, with all of those great networks, Qwil can be in the middle of that. Qwil can provide value to buyers and suppliers. Today, the relationships, it's all about Fieldglass. Those are the integrations that we've built. That's where the bits are today. But as you think about growth opportunities, we probably think about not just buyers and suppliers of human talent or gig work or freelancing, if you will, but buyers and suppliers of goods. Qwil can provide that value there, whether that's to an Ariba buyer, an SAP ERP in the form of S4 buyer, or other buyers in other networks across the SAP product landscape. So the sky's the limit for the partnership.
Well, I can tell you that we're very excited about that prospect and rolling out more broadly within the amazing networks that you guys have built. And I also want to say that we're very focused on making the program within SAP Fieldglass as successful as possible, especially given the times we're in. So I think we'll wrap up. And Bob, can you remind everyone what the how to access the App Center?
Yeah, you bet, Johnny. So all of the applications, the third-party IP, and the partner applications that my team recruits on behalf of the SAP procurement product set, they're all merchandised in the same place, and that's the SAP App Center. There are over 1,500 apps in the App Center, but you're easy to find. You can go to www.sapappcenter.com, go right to the Fieldglass page, and you will see a listing there for Qwil. Your end users can click on that, or prospects can click on that link, take a look at the capabilities, and then click to easily learn more and get in touch with you and your team, Johnny. And we look forward to many years of success between the two of us.
Yeah, thank you for that. And likewise. Well, Bob, Ron, thank you so much for joining me today. It was wonderful to connect with both of you and talk about the amazing partnership between SAP Fieldglass and Qwil. And we're helping suppliers get paid on their terms. Thank you very much.